the Builder Lynx system is all about, and kind of where it comes from and what it covers. Builder Lynx is what we call an operational ERP system, and details about that are kind of laid out on this presentation slide here. So it's a bunch of different kind of modules or components that work all on or within a single Builder Lynx database, essentially. So there's a single system, but there's different accesses and different controls that basically allow your team to view and access different sets of information depending on the role and the functionality that they require. There's lots of different ways or sequences in terms of the way that home builders build their homes. I'm just going to walk through a kind of a typical process, but there's lots of variations on this as well. But typically the process starts off early on in the customer relationship management module, where you're registering prospects or visitors to either your website or your community website, or your people that physically walk in through the sales office door. You register those in the system to be able to capture that information, and then you can use the system to send out what we call marketing campaigns, which are basically like email blasts out to your registration list of 2,000 or 5,000 people, and notifying them of upcoming grand openings or incentive packages or whatever the case may be. And then the system can help you kind of track and manage all of the details associated with those marketing campaigns as well. Okay. At some point, basically, the project goes to sales. So there's a module in Builder Lynx where we set up and maintain essentially your agreement of purchase and sale, the sales documents and associated schedules, contracts, all of that information. And then your team has the ability to actually sell a home using the digital sales office. So the digital sales office is a tablet app or a desktop app that allows your team to sell a home very easily through a predefined sales process. And I'll show you how that works later on. And then following on from that, there is typically a decor, design, colors, and extras process where your purchasers will be able to go and upgrade their homes, select various options and upgrades in terms of cabinets and countertops and flooring and all that kind of fun stuff related to how they want to customize their home. And then the output of that basically flows to the contracts team. So the contracts and purchasing team will be responsible for reviewing that information, augmenting it with a whole bunch of base contract details related to the base budgets of the homes and all of that pricing information for your base costing. And then within that module, the contracts and purchasing team also has the ability to basically use Builder Lynx and to negotiate with the trades and the suppliers using the supplier portal then as well. So you can send out bid and tender requests basically through the Builder Lynx system. Those go to the suppliers, they log in, and then to their information related to that. Okay. Once that information is approved, you're able to go and generate purchase orders from your base contract information and your extras and upgrades, and then be able to flow that information out to the construction site, out to the trade, so that they know what's going to actually be happening on site in the individual homes. Okay. There's a tablet app that the construction team can use to review and access scheduling information on a per job basis or on a lot by lot basis or on a task by task basis and various things like that. But basically they're using that to control the construction schedule, update the actual construction schedule then as well on a task by task basis. And that will have implications on updating associated purchasing documents then as well, just depending on how your schedule is tied together to your purchasing documents as well. Okay. And then finally, in the main overall process, there is what we call a pre-delivery inspection, some sort of closing inspection, and all of your service and warranty deficiency tracking within the Builder Lynx system as well. So this is where you can use, again, the tablet app to be able to go and do an inspection in a home, enter deficiencies, track the details against work orders, update the status of them, all of that fun stuff to be able to go and manage your warranty requirements then as well. Okay. One thing that's important in the later stages or connected with all of this as well is that Builder Lynx itself is not an accounting system, but we do integration with about a half a dozen different accounting systems. So we work with our clients to help them improve their operational aspects of their business, but then give them the flexibility if they want to maintain their existing accounting system, or obviously provide upgrade paths to more modern and better typically accounting systems like Microsoft Dynamics, the Home Builder 365 system. That's a very home builder specific product within the Microsoft portfolio that a lot of our clients are switching to over the last little while. Okay. We could talk about accounting integration a little bit later on as well. But the last aspect in here that I want to kind of touch on is related to the purchaser portal. So for a lot of our clients, especially during COVID last couple of years, they've wanted to be able to share information with their purchasers, but not necessarily have to have them come into the sales office or into the site or things like that. And the purchaser portal has been a very useful tool to be able to provide your purchasers with a branded experience where they can see, for example, details about their agreement, details about their colors and extras, maybe some construction scheduling information, and then also some details about their service work then as well. basically centralizes all of that information into a branded portal for your home builder's company, logo and branding, or project level branding then as well, so that your purchasers have access to that information without any additional work on the part of your home builder team itself. Okay. And then the last piece over here is there's an analytics piece, basically providing access to analytic information in the system. So this is details like purchase order dashboards or any kind of dashboarding of construction scheduling or various other sets of information then as well, so that your team can see quickly at a glance kind of summarized information about the homes that are at whatever stage is relevant to them, whether it's sales or design or construction or service, whatever it happens to be. That overall is kind of the Builder Lynx system and platform basically. For today's purposes, we're going to kind of start off on the customer relationship management module, and I'm going to kind of jump into the system now and show you a little bit about how all of that works. So what we're going to do here is basically take a look at one of our home builders websites. So this is their website. They've got a tab here or a button here that they can see more details about the actual home and community that this builder is marketing. And they've got a registration form on their website here. So the registration form has a bunch of kind of standard information up at the top here in terms of name and email addresses and things like that. And then there's a bunch of kind of custom marketing questions that they're asking their purchasers as well in terms of the size of home and bedrooms and bathrooms, stuff like that. This is all customizable in terms of how the builder wants to run their registration forms. But what happens ultimately is the visitor to the website will fill in the information in here. And then when they eventually get down to the bottom here, they'll check off the box for their privacy consent and then hit the submit button. And that'll take that registration information and submit it into the Builder Lynx system. Okay, so what we're looking at here now is basically this same community in the main Builder Lynx system. You can see we've got a prospects dashboard here of basically where all of our prospects are coming from and what's their kind of current status. So at the moment, there's 7,500 prospects registered in this project, and you can see basically the different statuses of where they're at. And at the moment, you can see down at the bottom here, there's almost 4,000 that have registered on the website. So looking back here, there's almost 4,000 people that have done this registration on the website here and then submitted their information, and that's what's in this 3,915 bucket here. Okay, so you can, as the user, click on the number there, and that'll go and run the report to show you that. I'm not going to do that at the moment, but I'm just going to go and search for my name in the registration database. Okay, and then you can see I've registered with a bunch of unique email addresses in here, so I'm registered a bunch of times, but I'll go and just basically review kind of the details of my registration, or one of my registrations. So a name, contact information, email address, current status information, contact details in here, address information if you're collecting that. And then over on the right side is basically a whole set of customizable fields for where you guys can track your marketing information then as well. So this builder basically had this web marketing section that corresponds directly to their registration form over on this side here, right? 1-to-1 for each one of those fields. And then similarly, they had a bunch of other details where they were tracking, like whether this was a broker, a cooperating broker that was part of the registration list, or RSVPs and things like that then as well were identified in this part of the home page for that particular prospect, okay? So that's basically your prospect registrations. You can see as I'm moving around in Builder Lynx, I get this kind of green highlighting in the system here. So what this will allow you to do is basically anywhere where you see the green highlighting, you can basically click on that field and edit the information in that field. So if I click on here, for example, I can modify the heard from field and just with a couple clicks of the button say, okay, well, I heard about the project from my friends, okay? And that's how, just to give you a quick example, that's how easy it is to be able to update information in the system. Anywhere you see that green background is a field that you can modify, okay? Part of what you would also want to do as the prospect registration is add additional notes. So your salesperson will contact this registrant, they'll have a conversation with them and then go and add some notes. So for example, Alex is interested in a 4-bedroom home, and then we can go and add that note. All of those modifications that are made to the registrant, you can see are identified in the notes section in here. So date and timestamp, who's the user that's actually making the note, and what's the actual note that they're recording then as well, okay? A little bit further down, you can see there's a section here that are the campaigns. So these are basically all of the notifications that have been sent related to this actual prospect that we've got. So if we go and take a look in here, there's a notification that's basically just the initial registration notification. This gets sent to your sales team, just basically the information that was on the registration page on the website. They will receive an email. They can click on this view prospect registration link in the email, and that'll take them right into the registration card like we're looking at back here. And then there's another notification that gets sent out to your actual prospects then as well. So this is basically kind of the thank you, you're on the list marketing information that the actual prospect receives as well. So that's tracked within the system. And then if we go back over here and look at our overall campaign, this will show you kind of where the setup of this information is done within the system. So you have the ability to go and modify, drop in either the HTML or modify the HTML of your campaign using the editor or having your marketing company do that. And then down at the bottom here, you can see we're tracking basically the activity summary in terms of how many times did we deliver the message, how many bounce backs did we have, how many viewed the email, things like that. And essentially tracking the main number you're looking at in here is really your kind of email viewed rate, which is essentially your open rate. So we're tracking all of that on the overall campaign, and then basically tracking the activity of the campaign over the course of time then as well. So this is a campaign that's been running for a couple of years now, and you can see basically the activity as it's changed over that time then as well, as people have registered for the project and on the overall website. Okay, that's a little bit about the marketing campaigns in the system. Lots more functionality in terms of controlling and modifying who the messages are coming from, setting up autoresponders and follow-up schedules and things like that for if you want to do drip campaign kind of processing then as well, can all be configured within this Builder Lynx CRM system. And that's all kind of part of this CRM system and the marketing campaign system that we're looking at this point in time. Okay. With that, I'm going to switch gears a little bit and we'll go and take a look at the digital sales office quickly and just kind of how the sales process works within the system then as well. So I'm just going to close a couple of tabs here and show you how that part of the process works. So we have basically this application meant to be used either on a tablet device if you're working with the purchaser in the actual sales office, works off of a laptop screen here like I'm using today, where we could be doing a screen sharing session with a potential purchaser and they're working remotely, or also gets used on touchscreen devices in the sales office then as well. Okay, so kind of a single system, but repurposed for multiple kind of avenues and views for different audiences. The app's organized with a bunch of tabs, as you can see across the bottom here. So they've got this view, which is kind of a key plate site plan view for this particular community, but it could be a 3D representation if you want for a more high-rise type building. It can also be a low-rise site plan, but the main idea is basically just kind of color coding the lot information or unit information on the actual site plan. Now you see at the moment, most of these are actually sold. There's only a couple that are showing up in green that are still currently available. So I can click on that, see the details of the suite number, what the status is, what the model is, and what the pricing information is, and be able to go then and start the purchase process from there. I'm going to get back to that in a second, but for now, I just want to walk through quickly the other screens that are available in here. So we can go and filter, for example, and see all of the ones that are at various types of models or plans within the actual project or community. You know, we've got our floor plans in here. You can kind of zoom in and pan around all that kind of standard stuff and see any availability for this home then as well. Okay. There's other marketing collateral that's available within the system then as well. So really nice tool to be able to kind of bring together the sales brochure and marketing information along with the actual sales tool. And your salesperson can then be using this part of the application to answer questions that potential purchasers will have. So if somebody's asking about your outdoor amenity space or community space, you know, you can show them that directly within the digital sales office and walk them through that process. Okay, and there's a bunch more tabs here in terms of like the features and finishes, you know, part of the brochure or pamphlet that you're going to have, your details about your home automation and all of that kind of information. And then typically you'll have another tab here about you as the builder or your collaborating team or those kinds of more high level marketing information about the overall community and project, right? So with that, I'm going to pretend now I'm actually ready to buy a home. So I'm going to go in here and say I want to actually purchase. Okay, so if I say here that I want to click on and purchase this test unit 991, I've got a bunch of different types of contract templates available. I'm going to, for today's purposes, just go into the agreement of purchase and sale, but you can have different purchase scenarios about reservation agreements or worksheets and things like that then as well. And then again, the application's organized as a bunch of tabs across the bottom here to essentially guide your salesperson through the purchase process. So starting off on this unit information, high level details, we've got a purchaser lookup here. So if I type in an email address, this will go to the Builder Lynx CRM system, look up that email address and pull that registrant forward into the actual agreement of purchase and sale process. So I'll type that email address in there. And then what we'll see basically is that's going to show up then over here on this purchaser information 1 tab then. The other part of the process is you can collect identification and driver's licenses and other pieces of registration information if you need to. You can, if you're working off of the tablet device, upload the photo, and that's basically going to scan that driver's license barcode and pull that information off of there then as well, if you want to do that. All of the tabs across the bottom here are configurable and modifiable. So if you do want to see these or don't want to see these, we can certainly configure and customize the system for your particular needs in your sales process. If I move over here to the Purchaser One tab, you can see this has actually pulled in all of the details about that registration. I can still go in and edit this information as I need to as the sales agent if it was entered incorrectly by the prospect registration originally, but that's basically capturing all of those details, and then we would just keep on working our way through the various rest of the stages of this agreement of purchase and sale. So I'm just going to put in, let's say, my wife's name, and she's got an address here too, and fill in the rest of the details, which I'm going to skip over for today's purposes. Okay. Working our way along here, we can go, there's a tab here to collect solicitor or lawyer information. So if I go and choose a lawyer here, this will pull in the details about that particular lawyer from the existing database of lawyer information that we've got in the system. So very easy to collect that information. If you don't want to do it at the initial sales stage, no problem. We just turn off this tab, and similarly with all the other ones. For pricing information on this test unit, we just have a very simple setup here, but pricing information would show up in here. You can also collect premiums for lot premiums, lookouts, walkouts, that kind of thing. Any options or upgrades that you're selling as the design options at this stage can be set up in here, not configured in this case, but definitely doable, and various other kinds of things like that for how you're actually calculating your purchase price. There's a deposit schedule in here then as well, and Tarion is related to the local warranty program that they need to have a bunch of dates calculated and reviewed as well. So with that, I've collected all of the standard information that's related to this actual agreement of purchase and sale. Okay, and then what we'll see in here basically is we're now at the stage where we can review the agreement and essentially sign it with the purchaser. So your purchaser will be able to see the content of the agreement. You can see where we're going to be collecting signatures is highlighted in here with this yellow overlays. And then all of the 25 or 30 or 40 pages, whatever it happens to be, of your agreement are reviewable by your purchaser. So you can see we've got floor plans in here, site plan information, and all of the various schedules that are part of the agreement show up in this section here. Your purchaser will have certainly the opportunity to review it, and I'm going very fast here, so I'm not going to review it in much more detail than that. But basically, we would work our way along to the signing stage, basically. And if we want, we can basically click on the button here to sign. So we're signing directly off of, let's say, the tablet device here. I'm doing my signature. Okay, that will then take my signature and insert it into the actual agreement of purchase and sale, and there you see it showing up then for me as well. Okay, the other option is basically there's a couple other buttons in here is we can send an email. So if you're familiar with the DocuSign kind of model, that sends an email, they click the link in the email and it takes them to a page where they can review and sign the agreement. Again, very similar to DocuSign. However, it all travels and works within the Builder Lynx purchaser portal. So we have our own internal electronic signature platform to be able to manage that process, track all of those details, and be able to sign it directly within your branded purchaser portal in the Builder Lynx system. Okay, that would be the sending of the email. And then the third one, and this works really well in kind of like a contactless or touchless environment that you might want to have set up in your sales office, is your homeowner or your purchaser can now scan this QR code with their cell phone. That'll take them to a page where they can review and sign the agreement then directly off of their cell phone. So works directly off of their device, and essentially any modern smartphone will accommodate that. Okay. So once we're done with that, we'd have our signatures completed in here. And then finally, we would just basically approve this purchase as the sales agent, add some notes if we wanted to, and then hit the button to send for approval. So that'll queue up an email to the sales manager. They can then log into the system and actually go and access the details about the actual agreement that's been created. So I'm going to go and take a look at one of these agreements at the moment. I'm in this suite 104. You can see the agent in here is this lady, Billy Ventresca. The purchaser information is in here as well. And the sales approval you can see has been approved by this agent, Billy Ventresca, on May 28th. And that was done in the digital sales office application here when they click send for approval. Okay, and then what this builder called their contracts manager, this lady, she went in and basically reviewed the agreement. So she would looked at all the schedules in here, reviewed the deposit information, and whatever other details she needed to review, she could access through the print preview. But when she's done with all of that, basically she would go and do her approval on the agreement. Okay, and you can see this is a yellow field here, so I'm not able to edit this myself, but she had the authority to do that. It updated the approval on there, and then when it did that, it generated basically the PDF fully digital copy with all of the signatures on it. Okay, so here you can see our agent signature, the purchaser signature, which was done through the digital sales office, and then the builder's signature or the builder's representative signature is inserted in here as well. Okay, so that's all generated automatically by the Builder Lynx system. You can see this one is 41 pages of electronic document that they've generated and created from all of that purchase and sale information. Okay. The last piece of the puzzle from a sales perspective is we send out an email to the purchasers that says, "Dear so-and-so, congratulations on your purchase. Here are a bunch of links that give you access to the various documentation." So certainly a copy of their actual agreement of purchase and sale. And then this builder wanted to share with them a bunch of other documents, disclosure statement, condo guide, and warranty information sheet. So that was sent out to the purchaser, this lady, Chelsea Ann Sigler. And then you can see in the email that or in the details that we're tracking in Builder Lynx, all of the clicks that the recipient made on that actual email. So when the recipient received it, they clicked on these links, and we're tracking those details directly in Builder Lynx in here so that you guys can verify that yes, they did get the document and they're actually clicking the links, and we're noting that within the system directly as well. Okay, so that's a little bit of how that kind of overall process works from the sales, digital sales office side of things. I'm just going to show you quickly some summary information here for the overall sales process. So there's lots of different ways that we generate these kinds of sales reports, but this is part of the analytics and reporting system that we have set up in Builder Lynx, where you can generate summary information about your overall project and community. So this is one example of a sales document that was summarizing a high-rise condo project where they wanted to break down their sales based on solds at firm and sold pendings, and then looking at various summary information in terms of the count of the number of units or the area, floor, square footage area of the unit, or revenue overall within the project then as well. Okay, that was one summary that these guys wanted. Many of our clients want things that are similar but somewhat different, so we work with them very closely to help them kind of customize reports within the system so that they can get access to that information that they want to be able to see. And then as we scroll through here, you can see there's various other summaries of information in terms of like how many parking lot spaces did we sell, how many lockers did we sell. Related to a high-rise condo project, you'll have different summaries on a low-rise single-family development then as well, but equivalent kinds of things are doable within the system then as well. You know, deposit information and tracking where our deposits are at and all of those kinds of things. And then various other breakdowns through the rest of this batch of reports that we're generating for the clients. Okay, I'm not going to go into any more detail in that information at this point, but it is a big part of what Builder Lynx does, is providing this kind of analytics information, summarizing reports. And then typically what we do is we have those available as a link on your homepage, on your dashboard. Your team can access those summary reports anytime they want. Or alternatively, or in addition, we also typically will generate in an automated way this batch of reports and send it out to the management team or the executive team on a, you know, on a Friday afternoon or on a Sunday evening kind of thing, just depending on when your particular team wants access to that information. Okay. So that's a little bit of kind of the sales process and the tracking of those details. I'm just going to touch on one other detail in here. If we go back, we can see within the agreement of purchase and sale, we're tracking certainly the document of the actual electronic copy itself of the agreement. You can see the builder also has the ability to go and track all of the deposits associated with this agreement as well. And they're tracking the status, the amounts, the due dates, and all that kind of information. But they also, within the document management system in Builder Lynx, have the ability to go and upload images and copies of the actual documents then as well. So those kinds of things are available and easy to be able to go and add into the system. So you can email a file into the system. This email address, DKTJ, is specific to just this spot in Builder Lynx, and you forward an email on and it'll take the attachment out of the email and insert it into the system. Or you can also very quickly and easily go and acquire an image from your smartphone. So you can click on this and that'll allow you to basically go and scan a QR code and upload the image then from there as well. So very easy tools to be able to get information into the system, and also obviously your standard kind of browse one where you can do that as well. Okay. That helps kind of round out the document management system in Builder Lynx and how easy that information is to be able to track in there. I'm going to switch gears again a little bit and talk about kind of the decor colors and extras quickly, and just kind of walk through that within the context of the actual purchaser portal then as well. So this is going to be kind of a combination of looking at some of the decor and options and upgrades, and also kind of how you can do that through the purchaser portal as well. So if you want, your purchasers can log in, review their catalog information, and see the products that are available, the pricing information, and if you want, allow them to actually select or wish list certain items then as well. So for today's purposes, you can see I'm logged into this unit suite 208. As the purchaser, I've got access to a bunch of different tabs across the top here. And I've got, just starting off with this Your Home Info tab, I've got access to my high level details about my home. I can go and view my floor plans and all of that in here. I've got access to all of the contract documents that are associated with this unit so far. And then what we're going to do is go into the actual selections and design section for this particular purchaser's home. So if I go into the kitchen and breakfast area, you can see here, this will show me a summary of basically all of the locations where we need to select information and products that have been selected in those particular locations so far, right? So in my kitchen sink and faucet, if I click in here, I can see that the builder has provided or set up within the purchasing module in Builder Lynx a set of upgrades for, standards and upgrades of different types of kitchen faucets. Okay, and you can see at the moment this one has been marked off as purchased, but we can enable either a purchase or a wish list button on all of these then as well, just depending on the builder's particular workflow process in the system then as well. Okay, so that's allowing your purchasers to be able to go and select that information as part of their design process then as well. Okay. And then from there, just to cover over some of the other features within the purchaser portal, there's the ability to go and sign documents. So this was one where we send out an extras document. The purchaser has actually already signed this particular one, and we're tracking those details in here. And if there was anything else to sign, they would show up down at the bottom here, but there isn't anything at the moment. And then for some of the other tabs, you've got a community map that would be the content that your marketing team would provide so that the homeowners can find out where is the local, schools and post office and all that kind of stuff. There's a talk feature so they can submit questions into your team so you can view those details and route them to various people and track them in what we call the case management or ticket management system in Builder Lynx. Very easy system to be able to use and track and manage purchaser requests, home buyer requests in an easier way than just what you're doing today, either by phone or by email typically. There's a survey tool so your team can upload surveys and have those processed on various basis out to your purchasers. All of the communications that you send to the purchaser by email typically, but are also archived in the letters section. So you can see this is a message about the upcoming color selection appointments that this purchaser was going through, and various other letters are archived in here then as well. Okay. Scheduling information can be provided to your purchasers as well, just high level, typically marketing level information. I don't have any pictures uploaded in this particular portal, but you can take pictures of the home and have those uploaded into the portal, and that would all be part of the ongoing progress, and your purchasers can see that as part of the portal updates that they get then as well. Okay, and I'll show you how that actually gets into the construction schedule tie-in in a minute then as well. We got a couple other tabs here for service information. So just to kind of review the details of the service tab here, high level details about your home. You can make an actual service request and send that into your home builder's warranty and service team if you want. And certainly we can disable this section if your team decides you don't want to provide that. The ability to go and schedule service dates is set up in here then as well, kind of helping with the workflow process from the service perspective. And then you can see here in our service history, just the list of all of the deficiencies that have been associated with this home over time. Okay, if there were pictures, you see those are available in here then as well. And that allows your purchasers to see those images then as well for their service work for what they're doing. Okay, so that will be all of your service work in your particular home then for your purchaser portal, and then a couple of other sections for like spring and summer and fall maintenance tips and whatever other FAQ questions that you guys would want to provide to your purchasers on the content section in here basically. So that'll cover basically the details for the purchaser portal in that section of the system then, okay? And what we covered basically in here is the information to be able to go and identify that for the colors and design section of the actual selections process then as well, okay? One of the other things, and I'm just gonna show you high level here, is the ability to go and see the floor plans in your purchaser portal. So there is the ability to customize floor plans in the design module that your design team can do. So they can add these icons onto the floor plans, track all of that, and have that uploaded into the purchaser portal. But the work that they're doing from the design perspective then flows through for modified floor plans back to contracts and purchasing, out to the construction team and out to the supplier through the supplier portal then as well, okay? So at this point, I'm gonna switch gears a little bit and we'll go take a look at more of the contracts and purchasing side of Builder Lynx then as well, and show you how some of that information works within the system. In Builder Lynx, we, depending on how you have this configured, but you basically have as part of your base contracts, a set of what we call contract standard documents. Okay, and the contract standard basically, in this case, are ordered alphabetically. You can see the cost coding information associated with it then as well. But the base contract or contract standard information is basically what does it take to build a home, regardless of any customizations that your purchasers have done. This particular setup is more of a lump sum type of builder where it's all kind of pre-calculated pricing. But if you have more detailed estimates where you're doing kind of stick and brick pricing, we can certainly configure that as well. It's just a slightly different scenario in terms of how you're using the system. For today's purposes, we're going to take a look at this HVAC set of information. And you can see down at the bottom here, we have what in Builder Lynx we call the supplier customization. So this is what does it take to actually deliver the HVAC work in a particular home. Okay, and at this point, we're kind of working through the bidding and tendering process within Builder Lynx then as well, where we're identifying basically a base budget item, so our initial pricing or costing from a budgeting perspective. And then you can see in here, we've got 5 other trades that have been assigned to this, which are the subs that we're going to go and actually do the bidding and tendering with. Okay, so we've created these and configured this ahead of time, but this is looking at it on a in-process basis. And what we would do as the purchasing manager would be to select a couple of these ones, hit the button here to say we want to modify the status of them, and then we set all of these ones to out for bid. Okay, and when we do that, that's going to trigger an email that will go from your purchasing manager out to those 5 different suppliers so that they can review that information in the supplier portal and then be able to go and enter their pricing information. So you can see here for each one of these 5 suppliers, we've now set this to out for bid. Okay, and I'm just going to show you really quickly here what the actual email looks like, and certainly you have the ability to customize this then as well, but it will show you basically high level details about the community and then information about where they can log in and access various files, and then where they can log into the Builder Lynx supplier portal and what it is that we actually want them to price out, and including instructions on how they actually go and do their work in the supplier portal as well. Okay, so that's an email that gets sent out automatically. You guys can customize how this looks and feels, obviously, for your suppliers on a community basis or on a corporate basis then as well. But for today's purposes, I'm going to go in as the supplier. So you can see I'm in this project 3 Rivers Clairville. I'm logged in as Area Comfort Systems. And when I got the email, I would have clicked on it and it would have brought me to the supplier portal. And there you can see there's these yellow pop-ups to basically guide your supplier through the process to enter their pricing information. They can click on the how-to video. It takes 90 seconds for them to watch the video and kind of learn how the process works, but I'll kind of walk you through the process in here. And you can see, again, we get guided through the process by these various pop-ups in here. So when I do my step number 2 here, the way this builder wanted it done was that would open up the pricing screen in here, and your supplier then could go and enter in their pricing information on a per plan basis in terms of how this particular base contract item has been set up. So this is the HVAC, and we've configured this one that the pricing is going to be done on a per plan basis, which is why you see a box here for every plan. So we would work through this as the supplier then and enter in the numbers for all of these ones. Obviously, I'm not going to do that at this point in time, but that would be the pricing information that you're doing. When you hit apply, that's going to configure that. And then basically it's the workflow process that this builder has was we wanted them to upload some additional quote documents. So I'm just going to go and find a file on my computer here and upload that. Okay, that'll process that into the system. And then you can see here, you can update your status to quoted, and this will inform or confirm your pricing with the actual contracts manager or purchasing manager back at the home builder. So once I do this as the supplier, an email goes back to the purchasing manager. You can see it says we're now completed. And if we wanted to, we could go and review our final kind of cost summary report then down at the bottom here for models and what's the pricing that we've entered in here so far. Okay. So as the home builder now, as the purchasing manager, back here, let me go back a couple of screens. If I refresh the page here, we'll be able to see now that this area comfort one has come back into the system as quoted. We would have gotten an email for this as well, but that's basically telling us that this one is quoted and the various other statuses that the other ones are at then as well. Okay, and what you typically want to be able to do is select a couple of these ones and kind of review them from a cost comparison perspective. So I'll check off the box here to select these. And then with a click of a button, you can see here's my cost comparison report to show me all of the different pricing. So looking at it on a per plan basis, because that's how we're pricing out this particular item on the base contract is the HVAC pricing. And then what was my base budget? I didn't fill anything in here, but what was the pricing that I received from the supplier? What was the variance for each one of those? And then the percentage variance then as well. And similarly for my other subs here then as well. Okay. And then you'd have total section down at the bottom here to be able to review and verify that information then as well. And ultimately what will happen is at some point you're going to review and approve one of these subs to be the one that's going to win the job for this. So I would go in here, mark it off as approved, and that's going to basically complete that part of the process for the pricing information in the system. So this pricing for area comfort is going to be locked into the system now for that particular base contract item. You'd be repeating that same process for all of the rest of these various base contract items that you have set up in the system then as well. There's a lot more detail we can discuss in a more detailed demonstration related to the stick and brick pricing, the quantity takeoffs, and all of those other details related to, like, lumber pricing and that kind of thing then as well. There's just a high level view of how we can do the base contract setup in Builder Lynx at for today's purposes in this demo. Okay. I'm going to actually change gears a little bit and go and look at basically the purchasing result of all of this. So once we've done kind of this bidding and tendering and the negotiating of the trades with the supplier portal, we're now in a position to create our base contracts and issue those purchase order documents out to the construction team and out to the suppliers and trades in the field then as well. So I'm going to show you basically kind of the net result of all of that at the moment, and then we'll kind of go from there. So I'm going to pick a particular lot here. It doesn't really matter which one, but we'll look at basically the contract information for this particular lot. And I'm just show you basically a couple of POs that kind of provide a high level overview. So I'll select my base contract here. I'm just going to do this one for now, but we could look at basically any of the extras and upgrades or color selections that were done for this home as well. This will be sufficient for today's purposes. So again, you see basically all of your base contract items here. There's a report here that basically shows you what was your current budget, what was the original contract, my current cost information for this, and then as we work our way across here, the actual purchasing information associated with this home then as well. Okay, so if I scroll down here a little bit, we can see in the case of my HVAC, I had a base budget of originally $8,500. I issued a PO to Area Comfort System. This was the company that won the job, and you can see in here I've got 2 actual purchase order documents that have been created for this. So the reason for the 2 purchase orders is we're actually breaking down their original or total contract of $7,850 into 2 different payment statuses based on, in this case, you can see the HVAC rough-in work was paid at 40% of that total dollar amount. And then if I look at my other PO here, the HVAC finished work was paid at 60% of the overall PO dollar amount then as well. Okay, so the overall POs, or what this builder calls their contract purchase orders, we can call them whatever you want, but this builder is using this term contract purchase orders. We've got our PO number, our job number, our supplier or vendor, their contact information, job site information, and then in this case, just a very simple PO where we got a single line item on here then as well. Okay. You can imagine in this case, if we look through, we can see all of the various POs that are identified for these particular homes. Some of them have just a single PO and a single payment stage. Others have multiple payment stages, so they're created as 2 separate POs. And that basically allows us to track and manage those as separate invoicing stages then with the payment schedule or the draw schedule that that particular sub is going to have in their overall construction work as they're building the homes. Okay. With that, just high level, I want to show board information that's available on the right side here. So there's a dashboard here of all of your purchase orders. You can see here's my contract POs, and I've got 6,000 of them within this particular community at this point in time. Where are these ones at in terms of status wise, new, in progress, revision, or needs revision, and finished ones then as well. This builder also has a set of what they're calling change orders, but might also be called, site POs or variance POs, and they're processing those ones then as well through the Builder Lynx system as part of the day-to-day work in what their team is doing then as well. Okay, that's kind of high-level information about the purchase orders. You can go in and search for them, and using the search criteria in here, filter them based on whatever criteria you want, by lot or by supplier or by date information and various other reports that we can generate from this information then as well. Okay. I'm going to leave it at that and basically switch gears again to just talk quickly about the construction module in Builder Lynx and how the scheduling information works in the system then as well. So if I log in here as the construction manager, I'm going to show you just a high level view of a single lot schedule, and we'll take a look at that, and then we'll also take a look on the tablet device of how that works as well. So you can see here I've got all of my different lots. I've got a schedule template that this builder just calls their construction schedule assigned to this lot. And the construction schedule template, you can have multiple templates for bigger homes, smaller homes, townhomes, all of those kinds of things, winter, summer builds, all of those kinds of differences. But basically you assign the schedule to the lot. And the way this builder does it is, you can see here, I'm looking at my lot number 5. I've got a buyer closing date of April 29th. I've got a scheduled completion of April 29th, and I've got 0 buffer days in here then as well. Okay, so the scheduled task you see down the left side here is what does it take to build a home. This is this builder's scheduled template that we've set up in there. And then the way these guys do it is they track basically the details of what they call a baseline start, a status, the actual start, actual end, and scheduled end then as well. Okay, and typically what happens is the site team, the construction field super, or whatever their title is, will be using this part of the system to essentially update the status of work then as well. Okay, and you can see in here, if we pick a couple of these ones, let's say for the kitchen and vanities, when I select this particular item, I can go in here as the site manager, mark the status of this off as complete. But what the system also shows us, and this is really where we marry together the purchasing information with our scheduling information, is showing the site super all of the various relevant information about the purchasing team's work or purchase order documents essentially onto the construction schedule information at this point in time. So your site super can verify that the modern bar pole is being installed in the kitchen cabinets, and that in the master ensuite countertop that it's going to be the standard laminate P948CA Hiverna, right? Once the site super verifies that, they mark it off as complete. That also marks off the associated purchase order documents as the status called finished. And then we would get into basically the integration into the accounting system, where we either send that PO into the accounting system and you get an invoice in from the sub, or we can just create AP invoice documents directly in the accounting system, depending on how you want to have your accounting integration set up and configured. Okay. So that's how the construction schedule works in a nutshell. Lots of capability in here in terms of tracking the dates and setting up predecessor tasks and all of that for your schedule critical paths. I'm going to gloss over all of that for now, but just show you quickly how the same kind of thing works on the actual tablet app as well. So this app here works off of a tablet or on a mobile phone actually as well, works on Android devices or on Apple iOS devices, basically pretty much any kind of modern day device. You pick a community, basically you go into a particular lot and you can see your actual construction schedule on the lot by lot basis in here. Okay, so this will be your same kind of construction schedule. Now in this case, we're seeing a lot of red in here because this is all behind schedule, should have been done back in March of last year. But basically what your site team does is check the box to select a couple of these tasks, mark the status off as complete, and then updates the task of them as they're going along here then as well. Okay, so you'll see once we've done that, we can see today's date gets slotted in here, the date gets, or the status gets updated, and then the color coding changes in here then as well. If I went far enough down here, I might find ones that are still in progress and not behind schedule. They would show up with their own different color coding, and we can customize the color coding as your particular needs work in the construction schedule then as well. Okay, one of the things you can do within the schedule is certainly change the start dates of tasks and all of that. That will change your critical path as you're processing through the schedule. I'm not going to bother with that today, but just to point out that it is doable. And then the other one is you can take pictures of the homes as they're progressing through the construction schedule then as well. And that works really well. As your site team takes a picture, it then can be available within your purchaser portal so your purchasers can see where construction schedules are at then as well. So really easy tools to be able to kind of do simple work on the field and then repurpose it for the broader purchaser community or purchasers within your project then as well. Okay. There's also the ability to go and view the customizations in this portion of the screen then as well. So you can see any of the extras or upgrades or base contract items that were relevant for this company, Geldwin Windows and Doors, related to this lot number 9. That's all available on the tablet then as well. And then the other important characteristic about this is it works in an offline mode. So you're not required to have an internet connection on your device. It will download basically ahead of time all of the project and lot and job information onto the device. And then you can access it, do your work on the device. And then eventually when you get back to your site office or where you've got a Wi-Fi signal, then you can click the button here to synchronize the project, and that'll send out your changes up to the main system and download any changes that anybody else on your team has made then as well. Okay. So that's a little bit of the construction scheduling module within the Builder Lynx system then as well. And I'm just gonna round off today's demonstration with a really quick demonstration on the service side of things then as well. So within your homes, I'm going to go back into this community here. So this is a townhome community. So I've got a block number 35 here. I'm going to look at one of my units in block 35. You can see I've got access to all of the documentation about this particular home. I can click on this PDF file and see the floor plans or color charts or other documentation in here. But typically what I would want to do is go in, let's say start an inspection. So I've got different inspection templates or types that I can create here. I'm going to do, let's say, a construction QA inspection. And then on this screen here, we can start to enter the details about our inspection deficiencies that we're entering in here. So let's say I'm going to choose the letter K for kitchen. I'm going to choose C for cabinets. I can type in here the type of deficiency that I have. So let's say there's a scratch on the lower cupboard door here, the dishwasher, something like that. I can go and assign this to a supplier or a trade that's going to be responsible for fixing this. So let's say Euro Choice Kitchens. I can take pictures of the deficiency then as well if I want. And then we've got a couple of other fields that have been enabled in here, but there are more if you want as well that we can turn on each builder's customized setup for additional notes. So let's say damage caused during the dishwasher install, something like that. And if you wanted to, you could add an internal note here, for example, like discuss back charge with Larry from appliance company, right? Something like that. So we'll save our deficiency, or I'll hit the button here to save a new. And now we're just going to repeat that same process, enter in our next deficiency, repeat that same process. And when we're done with that and we save them, we can see in here, this is a list of all of the deficiencies that we've got currently in kind of the open status, new or in progress or past due or under review. Okay, and if we look over here, we can move over and see all of the service history and warranty deficiencies on this particular home that are currently finished, and review those with your purchasers, or do the review them as you're doing a site inspection as well. Okay, and then the other thing is it's very easy to update the status of your deficiencies. Same kind of idea as we did before, but just check the box, mark them off as finished, and then we get a confirmation screen in here, and you can have either your site team, your service manager or service field rep signing off on them, or with additional instructions. Basically, some of our clients will have the purchasers or homeowners sign off on them as well. So they would do their signature on the device, confirm it, and then close it, and that will save that service work then from that portion of the system then as well. Okay, that's on the tablet app. There's a complete system within the main overall Builder Lynx system on the service module then as well, but I'm kind of running out of time here, so I'm going to kind of wrap it up at this point in time and just turn it back over to Kate to wrap up for today's purposes. But thank you everyone very much.
Yeah, before we do finish everything, because we are towards the end.